because we're just getting started. So am I still waiting?
And you can see Scott Plesky really put together.
Waiting for my man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rewind-A-WAI number 169, a review that will be a test of will, courage, and pain, because today we are reviewing one of the greatest atrocities to ever occupy any type of screen, with the exception of who is going to be joining this screen, and that is the man that chose Death Warrior. There's only one, Brandon from New Jersey, who has been sentenced to join us for this entire show, complete with his 2009 attire. Brandon, you are never allowed to make another movie choice ever. That's my official proclamation at the beginning of this. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not as good as I was before I watched this movie.
You know, it was either this or the Iron Ring. I don't know if you remember that when it was on. That was on BET, the reality show with Floyd Mayweather, Ludacris.
I remember.
Gang. And I think I had another option on the table of doing a 2000 Nitro, but Wai said no, so I pitched this to him, and in typical Wai fashion,
I regret not letting you pick that one.
I was stuck. I was running out of. My creative juices weren't flowing as well, and then all of a sudden, this lovely.
How does this even come to your mind? Because I couldn't possibly imagine this has just occupied any kind of real estate in your memory bank for the last 13 years.
No, it was just weird. I was just looking for ideas, and then all of a sudden, I was on IMDb, and I accidentally looked up
the worst movies of all time, and this was in the top 3.
I looked up an MMA fighter, and I saw Rampage had I mean, besides the 18 where he was good as B.A. Baracus. I mean, he had a Tap Out Productions film.
That should have been your first warning. Tap Out Productions. The T-shirt guys go into movie making.
I think this was the era. This was the year of the reality show was on Spike, right?
Yeah. I'm sure Punkass had a big involvement in this. I mean, from the beautiful artwork to the casting choices and the revival of Héctor Echavarría. Boy, I can't believe this didn't make a bigger dent in the ecosystem.
$3 million budget, man. Where did it all go?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
They I'm sure the majority of that probably went for Quinton Jackson for his half day of shooting. When they realized, wait a minute, you're not coming back for day 2? No, man, you guys got to kill me quick.
How did they spend $3 million? I mean, I'm guessing some of this was in grants, from the government of Canada. So you're welcome. I'm a taxpayer. I probably funded this in some way. But like, how did I guess I'm guessing Tap Out sent a bunch of money. But where did that money go?
What a heritage moment this movie would be for Canadians to know that a cent of their earnings went towards the story of Ivan Michelangelo, whatever the fuck, and his den of terror.
Okay, so first of all, I'm sure most of you listening to this have never seen this movie, and we would encourage you not
Wish
to.
I could join you all. Wish I could be on the other side with you.
But if you are sickly curious, okay, and want to be some form of completist and want to watch this film before listening to us talk,
where can you steal it?
Or if you want to just listen to us while this movie is playing in the background, just go to Dailymotion. It currently exists there right now. I recommend getting an ad blocker or downloading the video off of Dailymotion. Otherwise, you'd have to sit through all the ads. Listen, the ads might actually be better than the movie itself.
In a special match, John versus the ad blocker. Winner gets Héctor Echavarría.
But this thing is
for those that do want to support the cause, I could find this on Amazon. It is currently going for $3.33 for a DVD copy, $7.33 for a Blu-ray, or there is one particular user who is willing to part with his used DVD copy for a cool $139.08.
Goodness. Wow.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I guess it is available to rent on Amazon Video.
Yes.
Isn't it?
That's what I did.
You would be the first to rent this on Amazon.
Spend your $4 wisely, but you can watch it there. Okay.
As I did my intrepid research for this, I sent this video to John Ramdeen of a highlight from this movie, and I simply wrote, this is completely out of the blue. He has no idea we are watching this, and I just said, so far, you and Mauro are the best part of this movie. His response,
very funny, John, because I sent the same thing.
Oh, no.
And he responded with the same, ha, 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 ha.
Amazing.
I wonder if we sent the same clip.
I wonder if he even remembers doing this. This got John Ramdeen IMDb page.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd be happy about that, to be forever linked publicly to this project. But
well, they are. And I knew we were in for a very long 90 minutes when I hit play.
There's only one test of a martial artist. One challenge that can determine his true skill. It's the test of life or death. The test of courage, will, and pain.
Did he say brought to you by Joust body spray?
There was definitely a body spray. It definitely wasn't Axe because they were not attaching their names to this. But yes, this was probably 3 hours of work for Mauro Ranallo, at the time the voice of Strikeforce, and John Ramdeen of the Fight Network at that time, to call the outdoor extravaganza of global fights.
But it was a gladiator challenge ring.
Is that so?
It really did have a an outdoor King of the Cage gladiator challenge.
You're right.
Feel.
Look at that.
Maybe Keith Crawford helped them out with the cage.
I was looking for Jeff Sherwood. It was shooting photos with the red hat.
I'm sure Wolf has his own Fight Finder page if we look on it. I just want to make mention that in my research, I decided to go into like how does something like this even get made? And yes, this is the Héctor Echavarría project, but there's a lot of people that went into this. This was directed by a man by the name of Bill Corcoran. And so I decided to look into Bill Corcoran. And Corcoran, a graduate of Brebeuf College School.
You're kidding. Wow.
Meaning I went to school with Bill Corcoran. We were several decades apart. He being born in 1951 and me 33 years later. But we went to the same high school. And then he went on to Trent University, and other TV credits of his include TV episodes of Friday the 13th, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, 21 Jump Street, Mutant X, Stargate SG-1, and of course, Pensacola Wings of Gold.
Okay.
I don't know how high this would rank, but distributed by Grindstone Entertainment, which, based on several of the scenes we're going to be talking about here, Grindstone Entertainment was probably got their notes after the script, and their plot looks awesome, great acting, love the concept, just need some more tits. That seemed to be the takeaway from watching this. Some really organic nude scenes that weave their way into this battle to the death as people have been injected with poison?
I would suggest that these are things that I think an audience would expect when you're, at the video store or wherever somebody may be going to grab this. You're wanting to see an MMA movie. You see Quinton Jackson on the cover, and of course, you're going to want to see a sex scene or two with the lead actor. So, I guess this movie really is an example of, I think, what you would consider the MMA boom. And I think it's a great snapshot, actually, of like what the average MMA fan stereotypically would enjoy. And that would include, I guess, scenes of, like guys signing breasts and just
in front of his wife.
Yeah, and otherwise just close up of like breasts and just gory violence.
Héctor Echavarría was living that rock star life as the top baby face in the promotion.
Yeah, from his bio, Héctor has become an industrial force with his own clothing line, martial arts federation, real estate holdings, children's toys, and action figures, and an entertainment production company. And now, with his multi-picture slate of action films in which he stars and produces, others are calling him the Tyler Perry of the Hispanic market. I don't know if he quite ascended to that, but he really was. He was the Frank Shamrock to Elite XC that Héctor Echavarría was to Galaxy Fights Incorporated and Russell.
I mean, okay, there's one Hispanic person on this show. Had you ever heard of this actor before? Is he
absolutely not.
Okay.
I feel like he, in addition to writing this movie, he also wrote his IMDb where John got his stats at.
Some call him the Tyler Perry of the Hispanic market. Let's also remember that going after this youth demo, their main protagonist, the ass kicker extraordinaire, was 40 when he filmed this.
Yeah. Like I was so listen, if you haven't watched this movie yet,
don't.
We should at least do some form of like explaining what the synopsis of the film is.
Please tell us.
I mean, I can look up the box art. I mean, I didn't do any real prep for this. When an MMA world champion is lured into the illegal world of underground cage fighting by an elusive promoter, he quickly realizes that the only way out is to kill or be killed.
Oh, he quickly realized that.
So he is the guy who needs to fight his way. And like the story is, he's been captured, his family members have been threatened, and now he has to fight other MMA fighters, and in this case, top MMA fighters, so the UFC, to
top MMA fighters like Wolf.
Like Wolf Jackson, okay?
Wouldn't the value, the small value you would have by having like terrible actors that are cast because of their fighting notoriety just be billed as their actual names? Like, did we have to rename him Wolf? I can't imagine that these fighters were at the forefront of protecting their likeness and images, knowing the contracts they signed with the UFC.
Who knows? Who knows what? Like maybe it's a legal thing. Maybe they just thought it'd be fun to play. These other alternative things. But anyway, the moment like you see Quinton Jackson in the first scene, he's like presented as this top fighter, and then they have this guy.
Wait, on the cover, he's presented as the main character. Yeah. I thought I was watching a movie built around Quinton Jackson. I mean, he literally did, I would guess, 2 days of shooting, if that they had access to these fighters who were coming through town.
Really, it's Keith Jardine that is the lead.
Keith Jardine has the most prominent role of any of these fighters.
But you're not selling any movies with Keith Jardine on the cover.
The Dean of Mean.
Yeah. It felt like Tiki had more lines than at Rampage in this movie.
Now, you probably had a better eye for this than me, Brandon. Was it not in our opening fight with Wolf? Was it not Cecil Peoples who was playing the referee? Okay,
100%, dude. I was waiting for the karate chop.
Famed judge. Leg kickstone end fights, Cecil Peoples, represented here as the referee who got a nice day's work here, pulling off Wolf Rampage. And yeah, so we are introduced. Wolf is in the midst of this fight. There is Cecil Peoples right there. He actually had Quinton losing this round 10-9, even though he had to pull him off.
But so like they're presenting Quinton Jackson as like, okay, like I could buy into this world, Quinton Jackson is the top MMA fighter. And then they present Héctor Echavarría,
Reinero Isandro,
as his closest rival. I'm like, this guy's not even in the same weight class. Like he's probably like 20 years older than this guy. This guy does not look like I could buy him as a top level MMA act at all.
I thought this was the promoter, but no, he's it's Vern Gagne here against Billy Robinson from The Wrestler. And his wife, Kira, is very concerned about Rain continuing to fight, probably because of his age, that he could suffer brain damage. This woman, the most intelligent when it comes to the fight game and probably understanding that he's being taken advantage of by these promoters.
Maybe she wanted Hector to get into that class action lawsuit maybe later in life.
Well, when it rains, it pours. And Rain explains his pro wrestling DNA here, that he needs to pass the torch and have one more fight because this industry saved my life. The irony being that it could take hers away from him. And that despite the concerns about brain damage, he has promised one more fight. And after signing these two women's breasts and meeting Russell, the promoter, and Gus. This is Gus.
His main.
I thought Gus was Monty Cox.
They could have got Monty Cox for a cheaper rate here. Are you familiar with Ron Gabriel? He played a Gus Gladstone. You may know him. Not too often that you can be in the same genre of mob films and play multiple people, because he played Sammy the Bull Gravano in Getting Gotti, and then got cast in a film called Gotti several years later where he played a completely different character. Tommy Bellotti.
Was that the Gotti with Travolta? Oh, I saw that movie too.
One of them with Armand DeSanti, I believe, was in this. So then we get the big...
So he's the coach, and the guy on the right is, what's his name? The manager, Russell?
Russell Douchebag, the promoter, like total Affliction junkie hanger-on that the MMA boom had so many of these characters.
Oh, he's like a Jerry Millen, inspired by type for sure. Yeah.
He reminded me of Tim Heidecker.
Yes.
But then they break kayfabe very early on because he walks into the dressing room alone with Wolf and MMA manager Tiki, Dana's good pal. And they stare at one another. Are they going to come to blows? Good job, man. We're building a fight. See, this is all a work, guys. It's a work. I hated this movie with such a passion in a record amount of time. It usually takes me 20 minutes to be dreading the rest of a time. This was immediate that I hated this film and did not want to go any further. And it also was offset by the ad breaks on Daily Motion that was just trying to murder my soul. And this is when I was determined that they were not going to get any ad revenue out of my IP address.
I was the total opposite, man. I was loving this from the moment.
A glutton for punishment.
John, listen. From the moment that I saw Mauro Ranallo and John Ramdine on this screen, like in this like ungodly long opening sequence set to music by 12 Stones, and I hear John Ramdine say the words "bippity bap, that's a rap," I fucking lost it, dude. Like, bippity bap, that's a rap. That's something we fucking bullshitted around for like one of our on cameras that like we thought, oh, no one's watching the Fight Network anyway. Let's just like I dare you, Ramdine, to like throw that in there. And he actually said it in like one of his on cameras, and we all laughed, and nobody like found out afterwards because nobody was watching the Fight Network, not even our bosses. And he actually fit it into this movie, into this call, and somehow the director must have loved it to leave it in. This was amazing.
My favorite Ramdine moment doing commentary is when we were in Russia for the World Combat Games, and some of them we had to go out into the arena to call them, and some we were backstage in like this booth, and Ramdine's calling this by himself, and he's been going forever by himself, and I'm in the room, and I see him, and he's in whatever hour. Okay, so pretend like you're in my perspective, and this is Ramdean. And it looks like Santarelli. He's on the ground in agony. Oh, the man is a gem.
Oh, dude, you
Bippity
like,
bap. That's a wrap.
if he
How much do you think this scene took in terms of hours of what materialized into maybe 2 minutes?
I'm sure
We never see these two again. They never come back for any of the other fights or involvement. It's just this random establishing scene at the beginning just to tell you this is an MMA movie.
Well, you're trying to add an air of legitimacy to this, okay? And listen, like having Mauro attached. Mauro's probably like by this
Mauro
point.
would be the most.
He's the most famous guy in this
outside of
movie.
the fighters, outside of like, you know what? To modern combat sports fans, I would say Quinton is the most known.
GSP.
GSP to a Canadian audience, I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Mauro is calling this Mike Tyson fight on Friday. Like it's not.
Oh my God.
He's definitely the upper echelon of. Certainly dwarfs Héctor Echavarría. With all due, Mauro should have been the main guy in this.
Yeah, but not for a second do I think Mauro would be embarrassed about being a part of this. You know, like he'd probably be like in his ginch, like smoking weed, watching this, fucking loving it.
The situation,
like howling at this film. It's ridiculous.
Well, then it's time to pick things up because, you know, everything's coming up rain in this because they're going to make this huge amount of money for this fight. The
$500,000 from us. For
sponsorships, okay? This is before Reebok. This is before sponsors were sent out. He was going to make $500,000 on a sponsorship deal from a sports energy drink company. This was the most legitimate factor of the MMA boom. That you had these idiotic companies that spent stupid money to be in the MMA space. Like this was very true to form of 2009 MMA.
Oh, especially Canadian MMA. Do you remember any of those sports drink brands, Brandon?
I mean, I think one of them was like Kill It, wasn't it? In the movie, I saw that. They had a bunch of bullshit ones too. Named
C4 to the heart and all this shit that they would come up that you're drinking like nitrogen or whatever the shit.
What was the name of that? Like the John, like the Canadian MMA brand. You know what I'm talking about, right? We got like
there was one called Rain. There was an energy drink called Rain. Okay. I very remember that because we had people in our office that drank all this shit. That was just like watching their like toxic insides like fucking go to dust.
But it was an era where, like, I'm guessing a lot of people thought they could make money off of MMA, including the people who funded this movie, and they were just coming with
they quickly learned there was very little money to be made in MMA because the UFC is going to get all of it.
They were just coming up with like the most awful shit and just signing like any fighter. You know, like you could be an undercard, like Canadian MMA UFC fighter, and like you'd be.
There were those shirts that they had birds on them with chains. Do you remember that?
This movie smells like Affliction. You know?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it smells like Axe body spray and an Affliction shirt doused with corruption. Yeah, this was very much.
Héctor Echavarría blew the clothing budget with his gear. Unbelievable. He was a throwback to 2009.
Oh boy.
But there's a big conflict going on because despite this $500,000 for an energy drink sponsorship, a giant fight with Wolf, things are not great for Rain and Kira because Kira has her concerns because now he's agreed to 2 more fights. You said 1 more fight, and he gives this terrible logical breakdown of why he needs to have 2 more fights. But you know what? He's able to dance. And they make up by having our first of multiple sex scenes as we get Kira on board with his admitted brain damage that is to come from these upcoming fights that do have a price in the form of $500,000.
Mm-hmm. This sort of like just out of nowhere break into this sex scene. I fucking lost it. This was amazing.
Listen, there is a low bar when it comes to including nudity into these films. This one might be the laziest of like just going from 0 to 60 to show us some tits. Like that is pretty much what we have here.
Yeah. And they edit this sex scene with about as much artistry as they do the MMA fights in this film. Just like it's like a music video, and it goes on for way too long.
I'd go so far as to imagine that this was also like production footage of a nude woman that was just inserted into this as well. You never see her face.
Maybe you could very well be right. Maybe some of that budget was spent on a body double. I've never seen The Room in full. I've only seen clips of it, and I can already tell this movie, down to the actor, down to these very poorly acted everything, and these sex scenes. This is the MMA version of The Room.
Brandon, at any point here during the first of multiple sex scenes, did you have an ounce of guilt for you destroying my credibility that I have to talk about this? Did you feel any weight on your shoulders having picked this atrocity?
John, I didn't.
I have an image to uphold.
I know, but I totally, and I was talking to Wai about this earlier in pre-production. I didn't know there was going to be nudity in this film. I think
you knew directly that Kira was going to be losing her top in multiple instances, and
in multiple positions. Like they had to really make sure that they were like giving us a full on, like a experience here.
I didn't know Hector got down like that. I apologize to the fans and everybody.
Michael Cole's pounding ground. So everything's cool with Kira. She accepts brain damage after a night of intimacy. And that's when things really pick up, because Rain wakes up and a curious man is wandering by outside. And he sees the silhouette of a masked man outside, and it's not a luchador. So he goes to find his wife's phone that looked like a Fido original from 1993, and the phone has no service. So not only are these like terrorists that are at the door, they've also taken down the local cell operator, and there is no service in the area. So then what appears to be...
Let's give them credit for covering their bases, okay? The writers here were very sure they wanted to make sure that nobody could criticize this film by pointing out any sort of illogical loopholes. This is
I guess by 2009 you can believe there's no landline.
Yeah, well,
it's a wireless
household.
Mm-hmm.
There's no cell phone grids in that part of Canada either, right?
No, they're in New York City. I don't know if you know this, Brandon, aren't they? Like, at least that's where the fight took place. Have we established that these people live in Canada?
You couldn't tell this was shot in Toronto either. It looked like Los Angeles.
I'm pretty sure that Ron's gym was the exterior of Extreme Couture.
Pretty sure, of course. We shot there like every morning for like.
Well, it was a short shot. They took away any imagery of Extreme Couture. Randy did not want his name or likeness attached to this in any way, shape, or form. But he would rent out the building.
They somehow the headquarters of Galaxy Fighting are right next to the Croc Rock on Richmond Street, the most popular cougar bar in the city. All right, so this movie is Toronto through and through, but
that's where the fight scene should have been shot on a Friday night.
The Croc Rock. But I don't know if they've ever established where this is actually taking place, other than like the exterior shots of New York City that seem to be all throughout the film. Like somehow we're in Times Square / Crocodile Rock, Richmond Street.
So at this point, after what appears to be a grenade is rolled in. I didn't know what this was.
I don't know, a smoke bomb or something. Doesn't matter. It's like fire paper just to blind him.
Got it. Okay. He had no defense for this. And that's when we are introduced to Ivan,
the best part of this movie.
This man who might have been 70 years old, who is the mastermind behind this new game of fighting to the death. This guy has quite an extensive resume. I can't believe, this man was an acting teacher.
You could tell.
I could not tell.
You could tell these chops.
And he comes in, and we get quite the defense here by Rain, who tries to send one of the guys through a glass table, and he is told not to bring your kung fu to a gunfight. as he is knocked out with a gun strike to the back while his wife is subdued. And as Ivan comes in, he injects Kira with the poison. And he explains all of this in painful exposition, that this is a capsule containing a neurotoxin that will dissolve into her bloodstream in a few days, and she will get progressively sicker and eventually die. There is only one antidote in the world, and Rain is warned not to go to the police. He's like, how can I go to the police? I have no cell service. And she is bound and gagged, poisoned, and then Rain just falls asleep and wakes up in an abandoned parking lot with Rampage Jackson. This sounds totally logical and exactly what would happen to people if you don't lock your doors at night.
I would suggest like the entirety of this entire script feels like it could have been written from a 7-year-old's mind. And it thus gives it this like very surreal quality to it. You know, you just kind of like you can't really think about it like whether or not this could happen in real life.
You're
you
being
just have
too
to
kind
think.
to Hector Echavarría, the writer of this film.
Yeah, well, like if you think about it from the mind of a 7-year-old trying to come up with a story, well, of course, like his wife would get kidnapped and be injected with a a capsule containing a neurotoxin, and of
With
course,
only
like,
one anecdote in the world.
Yeah, well, of course, they engineered this neurotoxin, and so they would have the only antidote. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense when you think about it like that.
Makes perfect sense. Exactly. So the concept is that Ivan has started this ring of fighters that are going to fight to the death, and these random fights around the city are broadcast worldwide. They had incredible broadband capabilities in 2009, and astronomical sums being wagered that range as high as $70 million a fight.
Oh, yeah.
A reality show for the rich.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it's an underground fight to the death just for rich people.
Well, what was Ivan? Is he the head of Boonham and Murray or something like that?
Does Ivan get a cut of this? I mean,
Sure
are there
he does.
contracts to work your way around? Like, how did Russell not get any cut of any of this? Like, his fighters would be under exclusive deals with
Russell is getting a cut of this. You saw the money.
Oh,
that
that's
he was
right.
losing,
He is cut into this.
But really, this movie is Squid Game before Squid Game. I think they were really ahead of the curve.
They were, and I mean, this is $2009. Think about what
Wow.
these wagers would be today. I mean,
How's
they were
this-
ahead of their time.
How's this guy managing to pay this paramilitary that's breaking into Hector's house and kidnapping his family and friends?
With
So-
this betting money, obviously.
Wolf has not had to go down the direction of his wife being injected with poison. Instead, his son has been kidnapped. So Wolf is fighting for his cub. And that is why former friends are now bitter enemies to the death. And nothing could possibly encapsulate two men coming to blows and fighting to the death than a montage to Broken by 12 Stones. And as we hear this blaring out of the screen, as one man will live and one man will die, the reality is they could not have afforded Quinton Jackson for more than one fight to prolong himself in this tournament or be the final obstacle for Rain, and thus he would meet his demise.
You're a better fighter than me. You have to kill me for my boy. No! You have to kill me for my boy! You have to kill me!
Oh, man.
That was Quinton's neck being snapped. And in case you didn't know how painful it is to have your neck broken, we got animation of the neck snap in real time. This after a splits and shot to the testicles by Rain. And here is Quinton's C2 through C8 evaporating at the hands of Rain, who has the touch of death and unfortunately killing a poor child's father. And this is the man you're rooting for.
Yeah. Well,
He died nobly, Wolf.
yeah.
He was left hungry like a wolf.
I'm guessing like at least 1 million of this $3 million budget must have went into this, really great CGI for these broken neck animations.
They really did target the neck as the go-to in this. I mean, there were a lot
there's
of
one way to
necks.
die in this movie, and that's through either a neck snap or, I guess in one other poor guy's case, a broken leg.
Yeah, or a neurotoxin. These are the things. But there is a silver lining to all this. Like, yes, a child is fatherless now, but they did exceed $31 million in bets here, and.
We
Yes.
never have any follow-up from the child.
This child is just randomly in some holding cell day after day. We do know he does get fed, but it is never even outlined that this is Wolf's child. You're just left to understand that he's been kidnapped, and there's really no resolution to this child. Like, is he put into foster care? Is he deported? I mean, is there a mother? No answers at all. We just did not have time to resolve or even assign a name to Wolf's child.
His name's Jackie.
Jackie. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
because I guess Jackson is the father's name, so he'd be Jackie Jackson. This poor.
Remember
kid.
though, Ivan said that like if you die, the family gets restitution for they get some semblance of cash for.
So that makes it all better, of
they
course.
get $5 million, I believe. Yeah, there was another painful exposition scene by Ivan because this was
Hold
so
on,
complex.
Brandon. Like, I mean, we know these fighters are making like what $500,000 just on these sponsorship deals. So, I mean, if Wolfman Jackson were to live, I think they would have exceeded far more than $5 million, and the boy would have had a father.
And what would that fight have done on pay-per-view?
True. Yeah. I'm very, very sad. This is probably the saddest thing of the entire film. This boy being fatherless, and they give you no resolution for it. Like, you figure at the end, this is all leading to what is this? Isandro and Kia adopting the boy or something. No. Instead, it's just like, yeah, he's saved. Yeah, don't worry about him. Let's have sex. Like that's.
They have their priorities. Okay. Rain isn't ready to settle down. Okay, he's still in his youth.
Wait, but we'll build into a sequel later on in life, like in Creed, where he has to tell
Death
the kid
pupil.
that he killed his father, and then they fight.
You're right. I need that.
My name is Jackie Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
But
So
Isandro's going to get over though, because he's the Roman Reigns of MMA apparently. He always wins.
So this means Rain only advances to the first round, where he will fight the best martial artists in the world. There are no rules. You must fight to the death. And I love that. For whatever reason, I thought this was the hokiest but most hilarious dialogue, was after being told you must fight to the death. Rain replies, "What happens if I lose?" It's a fight to the death, you fucking idiot. Ivan Michailov. Great AI generated name they came up with. Just rolls off the tongue. He explains that, yes, this will be broadcast worldwide. And then after explaining this in painful detail, they just use a taser on Rain. Like, the man loses consciousness about a dozen times in this film and then he's just transported to random locations because he wakes up in a prison, the same prison containing Jackie and the mute George St-Pierre, who clearly was living up to his nickname because he was in a rush to finish filming this. And they had so much confidence in the spokesperson for Bet99 that he wasn't given... was he given one line in this whole thing?
He had a line in French. So he's not a mute. He's just a Quebecois.
Okay.
Well, this was the era where he wasn't speaking English, right? He was
speaking enough English at this point. They just cast him not to do it. I guess maybe they thought it sounded cooler for him to speak French.
Well, inside the prison, we get the other side of the bracket because El Croco, former UFC light heavyweight champion El Croco, Rashad Evans, defeats Kwame, and Evans murders him in seconds, and still generating $34 million. So not a bad night's work. And we check in with Kira, who is battling the effects of poison, which was akin to a bad hangover, where she's dunking her head into the toilet, battling poison, while Rain is fighting for his life. Meanwhile, Rain, whose wife is on death's door, is brought to his next target. But we are introduced to Anka in her lingerie. And Anka explains, with these two other topless women, that they are here to perform whatever services he requires for his next fight. And this is where we got into, I was waiting for, the baby blue theme music here.
Good day, Mr. Isandro. My name is Anka. I'm here to make you feel as comfortable as possible.
Call 1-900.
I can help you feel wonderful. Excite the deepest desires and passions of your body and your mind.
What about my wife?
You have a chance to start a new life with us.
I like
said
my life the
wife,
way
not
it is.
life.
Winner of these fights will be given over $30 million and may choose to have all of us as his consorts until he tires of us. I don't think you'll tire of me, Reinero. Trust me, Rain.
I trust no one.
You're hurting me.
When we cut the crap, you tell me what you really want.
As you wish.
That was like the 10th time that Rain has lost consciousness in this film. She's got to have brain damage by now. Forget the fights. They mace him at the end of this after rejecting the offers of these three. I mean, is it fair to assume they are prostitutes that have been that were pro bono here for Rain, who does stay loyal to his wife? How kind, as she is fighting for her life. And in easily the most hysterical scene of the whole film, in walks Ivan, who, this is just gross, as he starts making out with Anka, who prepares to go down on him. And he snaps her neck out of nowhere. This was the most unexpected death of the whole movie. There are some that you understand it's coming. This was out of nowhere. She just gets her neck snapped, and we didn't even get to see the animation of her spine being sent into two. But this Ivan, what a heinous character.
So
this is brutal.
What was the play here? Okay, like he's his justification for killing her is that he doesn't like failure, and she failed. But what were they attempting to do?
They wanted to weaken him. They have come up with these ideas to weaken him before all of these fights, and I guess this is the idea: you don't have sex before a fight, and
No.
he was going to have a foursome.
I see. Okay.
Didn't work.
So in addition to gun running and the kidnapping, Ivan is also a sex trafficker.
Add it to the list. Yeah, I mean the amount of sexual offenses committed by Ivan in this film are staggering. But yeah, we can add trafficking to the list here. So this movie is just rolling at this part, and we are on to our next fight because it's time for King Croco and El Croco and Rain, because they wake up chained to one another. Don't you hate when that happens? Here in this industrial site, probably in the outskirts of Markham. This is like a Costco in renovation. And this is a big fight. $54 million up for grabs. And Croco explains, "I'll kill you, Rain. They have my family." And at this point, we're really seeing the future of Rashad Evans, future analyst. And after executing a mounted triangle, Rain ends up choking him, gets choked with the chain, but then Rain recovers with his go-to, the nut shot. But then, step aside, Roderick Strong. It's the messiah of the backbreaker, Rain, who breaks the man's spine over his knee, and that was it. He turned his spine into sugar.
Classic MMA technique.
This always works. It always works. The devastating backbreaker by a 40-year-old man who probably blew out his back trying to execute this onto a guy that walks around at no less than 230 pounds.
How do you fight in all that garment? Like Rashad's wearing like diamond encrusted sweats, and Héctor Echavarría is rocking a leather jacket, Affliction shirt, and boot cut jeans.
So I have a theory that like I think the leather, like you never see him even like, you certainly never see him topless, you know, even though like, you know, he's an MMA fighter. I don't even know if you ever see him outside of the jacket. And I'm guessing that's partly because they want to make him look bigger than he actually is. And I guess having a leather jacket kind of fills out your frame a bit. So
they have a Russian chain match. Would Ivan Koloff be proud?
Hey, listen, I thought this chain structure was pretty cool, okay? Like
This should have been on the Iron Ring.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, it's like a wrestling dog collar match, isn't it? You know.
Do you think Ken Hayashi approved this in Ontario? This was before MMA was legal, but I think chain fighting would pass.
I hope David Carradine didn't watch this.
Brandon,
dude,
you're a sick fuck. Well, you know, a lot of people. This is funny because a lot of people make this observation that when they see George St-Pierre, they see a shaman. And that is his character as we learn more about the depths of GSP and whether people were impressed with his performance in this film. First up, he takes on Rex 66 with 2 X's. And GSP snaps his leg, death. And then it is time for the
How do you die from a broken leg?
Because...
He severed the artery in the leg, in the femur.
Yeah,
what?
It's the circulation that it inspires, you know, to the neck.
They were very clear. These are all fights to the death, and we get that X-ray of a broken leg. Like he somehow...
is a shaman. He might have like performed some procedure afterwards using the leg.
Listen, I'm glad Rashad and GSP got squash matches ahead of their fight.
You got to build them up.
Yeah.
How much do you think George was paid for this film? Higher or lower than 30 grand?
This seemed like it was probably a favor to like, I don't know, Greg Jackson or like whatever management team that he had, I'm sure.
This was a good year.
This is going to be great exposure for you. This is going to open you up to so many more projects. Just do this as a favor. I could see a lot of fighters adopting that mentality. Yeah. Then we are introduced to the one guy that has legitimately moved on to become a full-time actor, and that is Keith Jardine, Andre. And he is hunting for rain, and they meet in an abandoned building, and he is with his sister, Sophia. His sister. Mm-hmm. And she has been adorned with a Shanghai necktie.
Which is what?
Well, if this Shanghai necktie, this neck contraption is removed, her head blows off.
Yeah.
Is this how ankle bracelets work for those people like on probation?
If it's a Shanghai ankle bracelet, yeah. I mean, I guess they bought this from Shanghai, maybe on Temu or something, and maybe that's why they call it that.
Well, these two are not exactly accused of being super sleuths because they believe Rain is behind this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this.
Yeah, this guy has the capacity to pull off this level of mastermind technique.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this movie was. I mean, I guess it's of its time, but I mean,
it's not of anyone's time.
It's certainly not very kind to women. I wouldn't say it's very kind to Asians either. You know, the Asian representation we had on this movie was the Shanghai necktie. It was, I think, like 3 random Chinese investors that were like looking at action figures and clearly like just betting on this like underground fight contraption. And of course, we had Kang Lai, like that. They, despite being spelled Lai,
Louis Paquette,
they keep pronouncing it Kang Lee. And he's about as generic of a ninja as Akira Tozawa was.
The great ninja master, as he was called.
Yeah, the great ninja master Kang Lee. Like we're talking
Isn't
about
this the guy WH has always been clamoring for to come? He's a big Kang supporter.
we are talking about like a movie based in like semi-reality with these MMA fighters, and somehow they have this ninja.
The legend continues.
Straight out of like Mortal Kombat. Like they didn't even get a cool outfit for this guy. Like they put him in like a black hoodie with like a black like karate gi, about as low rent of a ninja as you could get for a film.
I don't know. I could see this guy getting an offer to do Contender Series.
Of course. Yeah, and you look at the credits, of course, it's a white guy playing a ninja. So.
Yeah, that's it. Louis Paquette, not exactly
Kang
Asian
Lai.
sounding name.
Yeah.
Maybe related to Renee.
You had that one goon. You have Asian representation. You look like Kurt Russell.
True, you're right. Yes.
Did you like the credits that had Mercenary number 1, Mercenary number 2, and Mercenary number 3?
One of the mercenaries is actually or at least at the time was a popular Canadian boxer. Pevin, let me see, what's his name? Nevin, whatever. His name is Nevin Pajkic.
Oh, I know Nevin Pajkic.
Yeah, he fought Tyson Fury actually.
Okay,
so he was the guy who tried to rape his wife.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. That's later to come in our sexual assault storylines that were pervasive in this film. So Andre and Rain clear the air. They're like, "Are you behind this?" "No, I'm not." "Oh, okay. We're working together." So Andre and Rain come together, and then I can only imagine that, like, Keith Jardine's shooting schedule was kind of in flux because he just disappears. And the explanation is just that, well, he disappeared. We don't know where he went.
Yeah.
And he shows up for the last scene. And there's no real plot purpose for it other than what happened to him. And that's what we're left with. Like, that's the big dramatic hook. And wouldn't you know it, he shows up with a second to spare. But it was so random. Like, he's just gone in the middle of this film. And it just felt like something they had to work around. And I don't know.
The sister said that he went off to kill Ivan. But I mean, like, he was doing a pretty bad
great job he did, yeah.
Because we were following Ivan the whole movie with, like, Keith Jardine nowhere to be found.
He was, not a really fleshed out story, but say la vie with this film.
Rain looking more and more like Ray Longo as the movie progresses.
Well,
yeah, totally.
Well, we didn't get any advice between rounds because Kang Lai is
Kang Lee, John. Pronounce it right.
Sorry,
okay?
I'm sorry. Kang Lee, Louis Paquette, $59 million in bets. I can't imagine too many came in for the underdog. But Lai. Oh,
it's
Kang.
Lai. They pronounce it incorrectly.
Sorry, I'm reading my writing here. Yeah. He is determined he was not a great master and not a true warrior. And
they
this
didn't
cost
even get
money.
They didn't even get the cultures right. Like, ninja are Japanese. And they picked like a non-Japanese name just because it sounded Asian enough, I guess, for this ninja.
I mean, at least Akira Tozawa passed that low bar.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he's dead. He's gone. And now it's time.
And the point here was to show that if
no point.
No, there was a point. The point was to show that Ivan doesn't stand for cheating. Okay, there's some level of nobility to this underground fight circus, and he will kill you if you use weapons or if you just cheat and dishonorably fight in any way.
Noble sex trafficker.
So I think did that fight count as a no contest for Rain, or they gave him the dub?
I'm sure these were all sanctioned. You think there were weigh-ins? Now it's time for a brief intermission, so that meant more boobs. So we go to Russell, the promoter, who's just... Are these the same women that we were introduced, or are these new women? Okay, no, it's the same. So they were just transported from Rain over to Russell. That should have been our tip-off that they were in cahoots here with Ivan, because then Ivan comes in and wants to know the status of the Russian. Just the Russian. And
who's that?
Do we ever meet this mysterious Russian? Like, I completely could have missed this.
Yeah, who were they talking about?
They were trying to book Fedor. I guess they couldn't get
That's what I was kind of expecting. I thought they were teasing like a special cameo at the end or something, but we never hear anything about the Russian.
They were going to get Fedor to fight Rain, but Fedor's team wanted to co-promote, and Russell was not going to budge on co-promotion.
No, seriously, like this led nowhere.
There's no resolution to this, as far as I recall. In this, it was like this was the scary ace up their sleeve, the Russian that we are never introduced to. Maybe he was wearing a necktie that exploded. So
Barry Millen couldn't pull the trigger.
Rain finally does a home check on Kira, who, let's remember, is on death's bed, and nearly gets decapitated with a machete, because that's Kira's home alarm system in 2009. But thankfully, Rain has the instincts of a cat and avoids being stabbed. And Kira is apologetic because of her poison interfering with Rain's life. I mean, this really did. Boy, was Rain just the sympathetic character. But guys, this is a moment of reflection for Rain, and now we know what he's fighting for.
If I didn't love you so much, I wouldn't have a reason to keep on fighting. We'll find a way.
Got the poison inside of me. I'm dying. I get weaker every day.
We still have time.
For what?
To be us. And to love each other. I love you so much.
Cover your eyes, kids.
Yeah, the guitar strings meant that the sex was on, and
I don't get this.
Rain had no concern about like this woman is as frail as can be, and is like could die at any moment. But hey,
this was the first sex scene I think I've ever seen on a deathbed. So this movie, I think, had that.
Well, I mean,
this woman has got the T virus coursing in her veins. You think you want to have sex?
Do you think he used protection? That would have been poetic if he somehow obtained the poison through his proclivities here. But yeah, he still loves this woman, and that's why he's willing to fight to the death, even as she is literally on hers. And there we go. Now it is time for this whole plan to unravel, because now that he has been revived through intercourse, he is out to continue in the tournament. Andre is still missing, and the guy that turns out to be ahead of everyone is the unsuspecting Gus. Because he realizes, hey, Wolf, what happened to Wolf? We haven't seen him in a few days. And Wolf, unfortunately, is gone. But Gus puts his faith in the wrong man, because he goes to the promoter. You never go to the promoter. And Russell, sporting a ridiculously oversized shirt, is informed about Wolf's disappearance. And Gus informs him, I've heard some rumors. And Russell, that's all he needs to hear, because he then pushes this man down the stairs. And I thought a backbreaker was going to be the toughest sell to believe a man died. This man plunges down, I want to be charitable and say like 7 stairs. And Russell just leaves him there. Like, he's still breathing. He's still conscious. But Russell just assumes, well, everyone takes the elevator at this very public work office, that no one will come across this man, nor will he give me up. So Russell abandons Gus. But thankfully, Rain, who is just wandering the building, comes across Gus. And wouldn't you know it, his dying words gives up Russell and who has done this to him. And Rain, with the emotional depth of Keanu Reeves while he's in a coma, sees his longtime trainer die in front of his eyes. Rocky and Mickey from Rocky 3, this was not.
This was about like as much of a hammed up, death as you could get from Gus. Like he's an actual actor, you're telling me? He gave you like the classic.
This is Sammy the Bull Gravano, okay? Put some respect on Gus's name.
He gave you the classic, I'm dying. Including like the head tilt, like when he's at the actual moment of death. So you could tell
Can you
this guy-
imagine shooting this? Cut. Yeah, it's exactly what we wanted.
You could tell this dude wasn't taking it seriously. He didn't think anybody would be talking about this in 2024.
So thankfully, he did die in close proximity because all Rain had to do was go up about 3 floors into Russell's office. And Rain is not playing around. He knows that Russell played them. And Russell is caught. You were supposed to be my friend. The infamous words of Batista to Rey Mysterio, uttered here by Rain to promoter Russell. We all make choices. I made mine. And thus, we get the unexpected demise of Russell.
I didn't know about Kira, okay? I was just doing what I was told. I had nothing to fucking do with it, okay? Hey, I just got the fighters, that's all. I swear.
You just got the fighters? You give them more than that. You give them our life. For what? I just gave them information. You're supposed to be my friend. You cheated us.
I didn't have a fucking choice, okay? The guy's a fucking me.
You know, guys, he was my friend.
I didn't have a choice.
We all have choices. I made mine.
Please, Rain, I'm fucking begging you, please.
We'll see you in hell, you piece of shit.
He snapped his neck. He just snapped his neck in the middle of broad daylight. I'll see you in hell. Oh my God. Oh. This is how the antitrust settlement went down. You were supposed to be my friend. At this point, dude, I was rooting for the killers. I thought Rain was a piece of garbage by the end of this. You know what I mean? Like, not to say the others were without sin, but I mean, he who is without sin cast the first stone. And Rain is just like, he's just a fucking mercenary here. I mean, holy Christ. Oh, this movie sucks. It's so bad. So Russell's...
You know who made a cameo in this scene, though, right?
No, who was
toy form? Tito Ortiz.
The toy. I did notice that we had one of those 5 rounds action figures in the back. Yeah, beautiful set design. Just screams of student production quality here. So next, it is after I'll see you in hell, you piece of shit. It is time for Rain to take on the $69 million man, the Shaman. Okay, biggest fight of George St-Pierre's career in Canada, and boy, did we get some choreography here. We had hand-to-hand combat, some leg work. George St-Pierre, this was very evident. This was like the Thiago Alves fight when he went for a variation of the F5. And then we had dueling Superman punches, a spinning wheel kick that they love doing these spin kicks in this particular fight scene. And George is sent through a glass window and realize he's been impaled. With glass going right through his back. And, this was, shades of Matt Serra in Texas.
Oh, man. These fight scenes are about as, like, man...
Quinton Jackson listed on the fight choreography, by the way, so blame Rampage.
But the editing is about as nausea-inducing as I think you would expect. This was very much like a Kevin Dunn style of film editing.
What White Rockers screaming in 2009, terrible
like
music,
a
montages.
million camera cuts, shaky cam, and the music is so bad.
It's awful.
This is what I would classify as MMA music.
Ugh.
It sounds like tap out, and it's just it's in every fight scene that they have.
I'm shocked they didn't get STEM on the soundtrack.
Well, I don't know if they could afford STEM by this point. They got 12 stones, which is the discount STEM.
Ivan then reveals he's got one more fight, and Kira has been tied to a platform with her arms chained from either side, and Rain needs to hold up the chain or else her body will be like disemboweled. And he holds on to this chain overnight until the following morning to weaken his arms for the fight.
It reminded me of like a side mission in a video game.
Yeah. I mean, didn't really seem to have any effect on the fight, did it?
None. Not like grand plan is like no weakness from any of this. This was conservatively 9 hours of holding this weight above him without sleep and being deprived of food, of sleep, and all of his strength. Like absolutely impossible and to no purpose.
Kind of pro wrestling 101, right? Like you're going into the fight with an injured body part, and I don't think anywhere in the fight did we see the repercussions of this overnight thing.
But we finally get the mission statement from Rain and what he is going to do when he finally gets his hands on Ivan.
You're nothing but a coward.
You've spilled plenty of blood, Mr. Isandro. Don't judge me.
I will not judge you. I'll rip your heart apart. I promise you.
That's the spirit.
Some call him the Tyler Perry of the Hispanic market. I mean,
I was kind of disappointed we didn't get a heart rip death in this movie, but
you know what? They realized that the after effects of the heart being ripped out of the body just would have put them over budget, and this might not be as critically acclaimed if they went that goofy route. So, going for the heart, and he lasts all night, despite Kira telling him to let go. Murder me. I'm fine. She's living for a greater purpose. So it is fight time, and Ivan has the antidote. And
you mean antidote, John? He didn't.
I always get that word wrong. Okay,
he didn't tell him a story.
This is an anecdote to a greater tale of garbage. The antidote. I am sorry. He just out of the blue decides to keep Kira alive, because he has now decided that
he's not a murderer, John. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to keep you for myself. I'm going to murder your husband and keep you as a toy. And we are literally on the verge of a rape scene when Ivan is informed that the fight is about to begin. And his instruction to mercenary number 3 is keep your eyes on this little bitch.
Mm-hmm. I love the food that he provided her for her date.
A nice course of tomatoes and lemons
and grapes. Don't forget the grapes that she devoured after presumably being starving for the last week of probably no food, staying down. The mercenary then decides he's going to try and come on to Kira, but Kira fights him off. So these grapes provided great strength as she took apart a former Canadian boxing heavyweight champion. She learns from the best.
This guy's only lost once in his boxing career, and that was to Tyson Fury and I guess Kira here in this case. Yes.
Okay. Ivan then gives Andre, who now has a last name. We learned Andre Fontaine. God, if ever there was, hey, someone come up with a name. We have 30 seconds. Andre Fontaine. Done. He is given 2 minutes. He just screams into the galaxy. Andre, you have 2 minutes. And Andre in Albuquerque, New Mexico hears this and transports himself. And wouldn't you know, within 1 second of the Shanghai necktie being threatened to explode, there is the Dean of Mean who is ready to unorthodox leg kick you to a 3-round decision. And he is here. And there's only one sign to mean shit is on. That means the follow-up to their hit single Broken, It's Photograph by 12 Stones, begins to play as Andre and Rain going to one another, friend versus friend, but now foe versus foe. And they roll off the platform and they are called on for cheating as the mercenaries begin to open fire. This is what could have happened in Pride if not for the yellow card system.
I was about to say that.
You know, Keiichi Shibata. So we continue, and Sylvia has hidden the detonator, so Ivan cannot blow her head off. This is frustrating. And
Rain with a car alarm.
Yeah, this is, you're at the mall. You're searching for your car in row D, and you accidentally blow someone's head off by mistake. Meanwhile, Rain and Andre hide beneath the platform, and they make a pact, like Arnold and Carl Weathers, and they decide that Andre is going to run past the automatic firearms, and wouldn't you know it, they have a clear shot at Jardine, and an entire round is fired off, and Keith Jardine impervious to any of these bullets, and Jardine just takes one shot and takes out the shooter. I mean, precise. So Rain then slices another dude to death, and Andre runs out of bullets as Sylvia gets shot. And this allows Ivan to slice Jardine with his sword, the devious sword. And Andre is stabbed. Kira has made her way all the way to the prison that I guess is right around the corner and saves Jackie. It's the last we hear of Jackie, who I'm sure went on to have a very productive life and was not scarred at all from this last 10 days. And no point in this where Kira informs him, by the way, your father murdered by my husband. It was either him or your father. And Wolf is no longer here. And then we just get Ivan, like the overacting here. There is nothing like a fucking maniac with a big fucking sword to ruin your day. And he's going to slaughter Rain like a little lamb. So we go into a new montage, and we're going to give 12 Stones a break because now we have Born/Raised with their hit Give Up, which I was ready to do an hour ago. But Rain stabs him in the body. But that's not enough. As we thought the target would be the heart, he decided to behead Ivan, which was symbolic. An antidote for the head of this war criminal being dismembered. And that is the end of Ivan, who this was a movie running around like a headless chicken. And then Rain, as he is often to do, is unconscious and wakes up in his home. How this happened.
Look at this CGI blood.
What are you talking about? I'm sure this was as authentic as possible with these the surrounding bars. Like no criminal activity, no police involved here, no questioning, no charges, no. It's just, hey, we understand you probably had to create a bit of a body count. We're so sorry you had to deal with this. We do know your wife was poisoned. And Kira is there, of course, at this guy's beck and call. I mean, this woman, zero agency in this whole movie. And as Rain is being held together, still is open for sexual activity. And that's how we can assume this horrendous film ends. And Jackie just out in the wild. Our lingering question, if this ever had a sequel, Tanya Clark here probably realizing this is the end of my film career as she accepted this, and someone that did have some credits to her past, but this was a far cry from guest spots on Guiding Light, As the World Turns, and Grey's Anatomy. A very far cry from being featured in A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, because there was no beautiful or genius mind attached to Death Warrior.
Yeah.
A 0 out of 10.
Like the way we just go from this scene just to the credits is amazing. Okay, like nobody put any effort into any sort of like, I don't know,
no wrap
epilogue,
up, nothing.
Yeah, like we go right from the end of the fight scene to just a scene of like this dude in bed with his wife, and the end. Here's who is in the movie. I mean, I think it's pretty clear like that this whole thing was just created to like put a Quinton Jackson or a GSP on the cover so they could sell some DVDs. It might have been some like I'm suspecting like if there's any sort of money laundering scheme involved with B-level movies like this, it might be for a movie like this one. There's no real explanation for how something like this got made other than for some sort of commercial reason, because I don't think any sort of respectful artistic endeavor would ever produce something like this.
The ultimate test of will MMA fans buy literally anything, and this was the largest test to date. I mean, this was the equivalent of a Cody Rhodes weightlifting belt, but in 90 minutes of film.
So if you buy a Tap Out shirt, do you get the movie as well? 2 for 1.
I wonder if Tap Out were proud enough to.
I could only have wished that we had a director's commentary from anyone involved.
That would be so much fun, actually. It'd be so much fun watching this with like
John Ramdeen and Mauro. This would have been something to watch with them.
100%. Featuring hit music by 12 Stones and Parker Theory. All right, so that's actually one of the songs.
Parker Theory, yeah. Okay.
I mean, they put a lot of. I guess it's kind of like porn, where like you put most of the effort into the actual cover itself, and the cover probably sells enough. I mean, it got us to talk about it, I guess. And then what you could find inside. I mean, listen, this was magic, John. Okay, like this was something very special. I mean, it was just fun. It was fun to see like MMA fighters try to act very poorly with a really, really poorly written script. I thought this.
I mean, kind of funny to watch like actors try to pretend to act as well. I mean,
yeah, kind of. I mean, this guy Ivan, he was like Raul Julia in Street Fighter, like times 20 with this like villain portrayal. I wonder how he would have thought of this, like if he had to talk about this with his acting class, for instance, because I don't know if this is like so great for the resume, but he was a lot of fun to watch.
I wonder how much of a thing that is of actors or actresses that progress in their careers and want to erase things from their IMDb that they request to be taken down. I'm sure there is like an element of that. Like, how can you make this disappear from my history? And if I can get this off my IMDb, this basically never existed. There's no Wikipedia for this movie.
There is none. I was shocked by that. I was like,
nothing.
Would Schwarzenegger want Hercules in New York erased from his IMDb?
I did not have the heart to put up a feedback thread for this particular film, but I am going to lean on the lone piece left on IMDb from a unnamed reviewer. Things are looking good for seasoned MMA fighter Reinero after he gets a big endorsement. That is until some bad guy breaks into his house and injects the pretty wife with a neurotoxin, which forces Reinero to do the evil boss's bidding in exchange for the antidote. This, of course, involves fighting other guys, some of his friends too, in fights to the death which are broadcast underground and which allow others to place bets. The story is familiar, of course, except here it's poorly done. The main problem is that this whole thing is Echavarria's, who is the producer and writer's, vehicle for himself as lead actor, except that he can't act, nor fight, and has zero charisma. For a fight movie, it looks like no one can actually fight, hence the director struggles to film a fight scene. Clark and Mancuso save the day, that being Kira and Ivan, with their acting. I don't know if the day was saved. If the concept appeals to you, then Arena 2011 is the movie to see. Had Echavarria been humble enough, he would have hired someone competent to play the lead. I'll give Death Warrior 3 stars for the nudity. Roger Ebert, everyone.
Amazing.
Héctor Echavarria, the Roman Reigns of B-movie writers. Getting himself.
Whoever uploaded the photos to the IMDb, like basically only uploaded a photo of the logo and then just a bunch of stills from the nude scenes. So it was probably the same guy who reviewed the movie.
It's probably by hope that someone will accidentally watch this thinking it's porn.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only, maybe that's how this should have been marketed, like right down to the cover. It just should have been
funny.
Héctor Echavarria unsnapping a bra and with Death Warrior written over top of it. a horrendous like sometimes I look at things like a movie that, you know, at the very end of it, you at least acknowledge like this is a really big undertaking for the filmmakers, for the writers. Like it's not easy to put together a film. But then I watch something like this and I have to reserve my respect somewhat that can anyone make a movie? I can't say anyone can get a film financed, but can anyone write a movie? Anyone can write a movie, and with the right connection, get something made that has absolutely no value to any kind of public beyond forcing your immediate family to have to sit down and watch your wretched excuse for art. And that, yes, a movie is attainable for just about anybody, because this is garbage to its core that has no thought, no talent, no skill, nothing involved that can even associate it with the genre of what filmmaking aspires to be.
Yeah, I would say a movie like this is sort of an argument against spending taxpayer dollars on any form of government
if they got
grants.
one grant, like that would be enough to remove those
they got
officials
several.
from
They
government.
got,
like the party I would remove from office. Like the fact that we are seeing these logos that approve this is just it's frightening.
Listen, I mean, we kind of came from the Canadian film and television industry. This movie clearly employed a lot of people, but I don't think that's a good enough excuse. You know,
Héctor Echavarria's clothing provided by
12 Stones, I think, maybe earned some money from all of this, but man, they created, I think, something like they released a disease to the world, you know, and I think they should be all chastised.
Broken. Look at the published by Cracker Rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What did you think? What did you think, Brandon? What's your review?
He thought this was a 9 out of 10.
Oh, this movie was absolutely dreadful, man. I picked this. I thought we had fun. I enjoyed breaking it down with you guys. But I mean, watching it, like, I look forward to watching these types of movies because you get a semblance of entertainment out of it. And this movie did not have any semblance of entertainment.
Oh,
I
beg to differ. I thought every scene was incredibly entertaining.
But I mean, I had to watch it a second time because the first time I kind of fell asleep halfway through it, and then I finished it. But yeah, I mean, this movie it's not going to stand the test of time. But I mean, I enjoyed reviewing it, like I said, and witnessing the greatness of Héctor Echavarria. Like, what a pillar.
Hey, I totally changed my opinion that I said at the beginning of this movie. I think everybody should be watching this movie at least once. Whether or not you're an MMA fan, this is well worth your time, okay? Listen, you could spend your evening watching, I don't know, like Raw or like Collision. Don't do that. Your 90 minutes will be way better spent watching this movie, Death Warrior. You won't regret it.
Watch some Héctor Echavarria squash matches, man, and learn from his greatness and aura.
I can tell you, I will remember this movie more than like 90% of the movies that I sit through. All right, and that I think takes quite the feat.
Well, it's a great cosign by you, Wai. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Brandon, my last question: Who is the biggest export from my high school? Bill Corcoran, myself, or former Toronto Maple Leafs coach Mike Murphy?
I gotta roll with you, man. I gotta John Pollock, man. Come on.
I mean, it was a real downtime for the Leafs during the Mike Murphy years. So I don't know if Bill Corcoran made his best case in this film, but I'm not familiar with his other work, so maybe I'll reserve judgment on that one. Wai, that is it for us. For Rewind-A-WAI number 169, a film that will forever be locked up like the Annabelle doll and never be referred to again because I feel cursed having watched it. But we are going to be back in 2 weeks' time with a review of TNA Turning Point 2009. Unfortunately, Brandon will not be returning for that one, but I hope he will be listening on Thursday, November 28th. So what better time than is that Thanksgiving for you, Brandon?
Yes. It's
28th?
Wednesday. Yeah, it's around that time. Yeah.
So I expect Brandon to be seated around the table with Simon and the whole family, cutting turkey and listening to our review of Turning Point 2009 featuring Desmond Wolfe against Kurt Angle, which is going to be our next Rewind-A-WAI. And Wai, we have some thank yous to close off the show. I want to thank Brandon from New Jersey for sitting through this atrocious film. But my thank yous only go so far because the man did choose this. But we also want to thank Robbie Eleanor, Robert Brocky, Jack Stevens, Jake Alinar, Martin Minka, Jesse from the Six, Tyler Crane, Robert Holzhammer, Ryan Charco, John Kleinchester, Alex from Quebec, Mahmoud Almardi, David Porges, Chad Olson, and
Jay from OSW, Bruce Lord, Chris Ely, Brett Nickel, Andrew McDonald, Amar Kishan, Thorsten Vendelmuth, Kenneth Soto, Jason Hagholm, Neil Flanagan, Don from Naperville, Kishan Amirali, Sean Levine, Cameron Simon, Blake Lavelle, and welcome to the Espresso tier, Assad.
Okay, welcome. Brandon, do you have a favorite Espresso executive producer for us to pronounce?
Good, Neil Flanagan and Chris Ely. Chris Ely's episodes are always the music episodes are a gift of the gods.
I like that, like, you know, the sort of like recurring producers have kind of like created their own signature for types of movies, and yeah, Chris is sort of the music reviews, and Brandon's are
garbage,
finding the worst things that exist out there for us to watch.
I'm excited for TNA Turning Point though, because we get to still rock these Affliction gears.
That's right. We are staying in 2009. You know, the tie that binds. So I'm sure we will see some awful
what a terrible
bedazzled jeans being worn by various TNA roster members in 2009. Yeah, that is quite the period. So Brandon, thank you very much for joining us. With all due respect, this was a horrible choice, but an entertaining review nonetheless, and we did have to put you through the gauntlet of staying here for the whole show with us.
It's a pleasure. I appreciate you guys. You guys are always good to me, and I return the favor by picking weird and eclectic choices. And I will do better next time.
Interestingly, guys, like the length of this podcast is almost exactly the length of this movie, so we could have really played the whole thing over top of it.
Well, after 90 minutes, I feel like a 12 Stone song because I am broken. Thank you again, Brandon, for joining us. Follow Brandon on Blue Sky. Is that all you have to promote? That's
it, Blue Sky, baby. We're taking over. The streets are quiet over there. It's safe. Come out and play. Let's go.
Post Wrestling is there. Maybe you should, John. Do you like? We should be uploading clips from the movie. We should be streaming the whole movie on Blue Sky.
I think we could, because no one's going to take ownership and copyright strike this. Yeah, no one's going to state that this is their property at all. This is public domain if ever there was any. But to close out this show, the last word goes to Ivan.
There is nothing like some maniac with a big fucking sword to ruin your fucking day.
You have been a very big disappointment to me. I'm gonna have to slaughter you like a little lamb.